Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Monash. Despite all the public warnings from governments and health experts all over the world, there's still people out there thinking that the SARS Cove-2, also known as COVID-19, entire situation is being overblown. This is no more dangerous than the flu. Well, the UK government was taking a very passive role up until a couple of days ago when they made a dramatic shift in strategy. Clearly, they saw some new information, some studies that scared the heck out of them, and decided a change was appropriate. I mean, think about it. Italy had 4,200 new cases yesterday and 475 deaths. They've been averaging about 350 deaths a day for several days before that. These are huge numbers. If we scale that up to the size of the United States, we're talking over 2,000 deaths a day, and many times that in intensive care. These are huge numbers. The healthcare system in Italy is crumbling under the weight of new cases coming in requiring intensive care. Clearly, some action is needed to slow down the progression of the disease to protect the healthcare system. Governments have been telling people that they need to eliminate social interaction for the next 2 to 3 weeks, and the general population can easily handle a few weeks of isolation. They've been told they don't need to stock up for more than a few weeks' worth of food. Well, on today's show, we're talking about the scope of economic shutdown that we're currently in the middle of, and many people are asking the question, how long? I'm wondering, is this an economic blizzard, or is it an economic winter? In an economic blizzard, everything grinds to a halt, and the community bands together, cleans up the situation, and not too long after, life is back to normal. An economic winter is an entire season. That's a different matter. It could be a deep freeze and hopefully not an ice age. In a world of social distancing, businesses all over North America, Europe, and Asia are either closed or operating with telecommuting. Some areas have allowed restaurants to remain open at 50% capacity. The mortality rate that we're seeing is incredibly high, especially compared with the flu. Now, we don't have a cure nor a treatment. Social isolation is the key to preventing the spread of the disease. The big question is, for how long? If the goal of the isolation is to completely suppress the virus and to eradicate it, much like we've done with polio, it's going to take an extensive period of social isolation, aggressive testing, and aggressive contact tracing. And only when we have a vaccine that's been approved and manufactured in quantities will we be able to resume normal social interaction. But that's at least 9 months away. Even if we had a vaccine today, which we don't, the process for introducing a new vaccine requires a preclinical period of 90 days followed by a limited clinical trial of another 90 days, and then followed after that by the volume manufacturing. It takes time to immunize millions of people. So at this point, I think it's fair to say that eradication of the virus is not the goal. The goal instead must be mitigation. In mitigation, we're still going to allow the virus to run its course through the population, but to do it more slowly. The goal in mitigation is to reduce the load on the healthcare system, so it doesn't get overwhelmed like Italy is experiencing at the present time. In mitigation, the virus is present in the population, and as soon as you allow people to interact again, the rate of infection picks up where it left off, and it'll quickly overwhelm the healthcare system in a matter of weeks. Here, too, the period of isolation ends up being an extended one for quite a while. While governments have not been sharing this perspective with the general public, the mathematical model to simulate the spread of the virus through the population is no great secret. A simulation is very straightforward. If unchecked, the virus would envelop the population in 120 days. Governments are not trying to prevent it from happening. They're only trying to slow it down. So let's say you're trying to slow it down to no more than 1% of the population getting infected in a single week. Well, then it would take 100 weeks or nearly 2 years to work its way through the population. If Italy's healthcare system has been crushed in a very short time period, and the penetration of the disease in the population is estimated to be no more than 1%, you can anticipate that other countries will suffer even more greatly than Italy has. So based on this simple analysis, it's clear to me that this virus outbreak is going to be with us for some time to come. This is not just a matter of a couple of weeks. It's also clear why we had another massive sell-off in the stock market yesterday. Investors want cash. They simply don't want to be holding securities when the economic uncertainty is so high. As you think about that, have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.